Good morning from our studio in Amsterdam. I'm thrilled today to have one of the people that I bug the most, uh, Joshua Haynes, one of the managing partners and founders of Masawa. For those of you who are listening or watching on YouTube and are not familiar with Joshua or Masawa, um, tell us your story, your journey, your big purpose. What is Masawa? What are you trying to do? Because it seems you've taken on a major challenge.
Thanks, Robert, for having me on. It's a pleasure to be here and not just only receive your great WhatsApp messages. So, Joshua Haynes, as you mentioned, I'm one of the co-founding partners of Masawa. Masawa, in essence, is a mental health impact investment fund. And so we're investing in early stage companies that are improving mental health, human flourishing. And we're not only investing in mental health, we're investing via a mental health lens called Nurture Capital, which I'll come to in a second. And so, how did we get here? How did someone think about creating an impact fund around mental health? Sure, when you think about it, oh, yes, that we definitely need that. But what does that actually mean in terms of the deal flow, the investors, the systems change that we want to enable,
Right.
and why? Well, of course, it starts with our own story. I'm from the US originally. I've been very fortunate to live in many countries and work all over the world. Both in my career as a technology and software developer, I built big B2B SaaS systems in places like Commerzbank in Frankfurt, Germany, or at ING in Amsterdam, next to you.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
yeah, so some clearinghouse software I built back in my 20s. But then I also felt this urge to give back and to do more in the world than just build software, which is sure important. So I spent a number of years in emerging markets. I was a Peace Corps volunteer in Morocco for 2 years, where I built software and helped women weavers market their products. That was a very exciting experience. But also spent considerable time in Niger, Haiti, some time in Bangladesh, Mozambique,
How
and
long were you
Kenya.
in Haiti? How long
Uh,
were you in Haiti?
so I've been to Haiti many times. I actually was in the earthquake in Haiti and survived.
Wow. You never
Um,
bumped into a guy named Adi Beitler?
Adi Beitler, no,
Okay.
I I haven't.
Okay.
Um, but Haiti is, of course, a very interesting part of my story. Um, it's an interesting story in general. But I was always looking at what's the power of technology for whether it be quote unquote poverty alleviation, whatever that means, independence, democracy, um, and then transitioned into the Obama administration, where I was at USAID for 7 years, managing a large social impact portfolio. So my remit was to look at the use of technology and things like internet freedom and internet governance. How do people in tough places stay safe and secure online? But also got to invest in or create projects around building the first tech incubator in Cambodia, for example, and saw, although I had a large budget of a large portfolio, I there instinctively felt that only giving grants really wasn't the way that we were going to solve any of these issues. We needed to crowd in other actors and the for-profit sector specifically, and was able to successfully do that. And then um, in 2017, my husband and I decided that we wanted to raise our kids in Europe. I had studied as an exchange student in Germany. In high school, I had studied in Germany. Berlin has always called me from since when I was also a little kid. And then so we moved to Berlin now almost 9 years ago. And when
Hmm.
we moved, when I left the government, we moved to Berlin. I frankly had my own mental health breakdown. It was the first time I had space where I wasn't trying to prove to somebody else that I was important. That I wasn't trying to innovate somehow or break against the system. And then when I did some deep digging as to why I was kind of having these existential crises, it was because I had never dealt with my own childhood trauma. Like a lot of
Mhm.
people, right? I had a tough childhood. I was raised by a single alcoholic mom on welfare. And although I was good in school academically and had incredible support from teachers and was able to get good scholarships to get out of that proverbial catch-22 that is poverty in the United States. I didn't deal with the depression, the eating issues that I had,
Where
anxiety,
did you grow up? What city?
primarily in Roswell, New Mexico.
Oh, wow.
It happened. Yeah, the UFO landed in or crashed in 1947. Um, actually, on July 7th, which is today. How ironic.
Wow. Okay. Okay. Good planning.
And good planning indeed. Um, but I went to high school in Texas. And so, but when I was in my at that point mid 30s, and sure, I was able to. I had resources. I was able to get the help I needed, a lot through food, to deal with, and I, when I started looking around and I realized, wait, everybody I know is directly or indirectly affected by mental health. Right? I looked at all of my friends whose parents who were still alive, and a lot of them had dementia or Alzheimer, and they were dealing with that. Um, I looked at a number of not only in my family but in others' families, kids with neurodiversity. What does that mean in terms of the school system? And parents who aren't neurodiverse, what does that mean? Um, a number of people I knew had siblings or best friends who had died by suicide, and really saw, of course, burnout and all these other issues. This is right after as we're coming out of COVID, and felt compelled. This really compuncture to do something about this and get capital to these technologies that were being created, that are or already existed, or technologies that were bringing mental health orthogonally into different systems, because it was very clear that the public healthcare system isn't able to, even in Western European countries like those we live in, can't address the situation, and so the private sector is coming in to fill that void. And so that's then almost now 4 years ago is when I met my co-founding partner Sabine Flechier, a French national living in Munich. And she had her own journey where she was in investment banking. She ran a large venture capital fund, 70 plus investments in her portfolio, early stage companies. COVID was not kind to the market she was investing in. And at one point, she realized, wait, as an investor, I need to also be focusing on the mental health of the founders, because how do I deal with founders who have suicidal ideation, getting a divorce? At this point, it's not about product market fit or internationalization. It's about how to build the resilience of the humans behind the investment. And so we came together and then stood up Masawa, which is maybe, I think, I'm not sure, the first mental health impact investment fund.
But according to your bio, Masawa was actually started in 2009.
Yeah, so that's Masawa, the first version. So that was a software company that I had built.
Ah, okay, okay,
Yeah, I had the URL, and Masawa is a really great name.
okay,
So we were building the Masawa 1.0 or 0.0 was a platform for Java-enabled phones in emerging markets.
okay.
Indeed.
All right.
And so that was the first Masawa, and then that we dormanted that. We raised some funds, we had some customers, but we realized that Facebook was going to eat our lunch, and they ended up doing that as well. And so then I went into the US government and worked on technology. And then so the fund itself is also called Masawa.
But the SAWA is an impact fund for mental health, but what do you invest in? Do you invest
Sure.
in pharma solutions or psilocybin microdosing? What do how do you address
Yep,
probably one of the biggest challenges, particularly people living in urban
I agree
settings?
as well. Yeah,
What are you doing?
sure.
You have like an IT platform that people can call in who are suicidal, and you put on your
Some of
bat
that.
cave, your
Yeah.
cape, and you save them.
To some extent. So we're investing primarily in B2B or B2B2C companies, we where the outcome is improved mental health or well-being. So we're looking at the mental illness side, like you were just talking about.
Mhm.
So we're looking at solutions that are addressing to some extent the prevention, the care, the caregivers experience with um, ailments or illnesses or conditions like schizophrenia, depression, suicide, PTSD,
But is it
you
more
name it.
kind of moral support, or is it ex pharma approach?
So it's not the pharma approach. We're not investing in, we're not a biotech fund. We're not investing in medicine
So
and
no
medicine.
microdosing for that for depression.
Well, microdosing, that's more of a nutritious play, a nutrition play. It's not something that's compounded in a pharmacy. So we're not investing in those
Okay.
types of things. Nor are we investing in things that need really long clinical trials.
Okay.
Um, but some of the companies we have
Give us an
invested in,
example of a
yeah.
company you've invested in.
Example is Five Lives. Five
Okay.
Lives is a French company focused on dementia and Alzheimer's. So they have over 200,000 downloads for their B2C model, but they also are B2B and B2C, and they're selling to pharmaceuticals, they're selling to insurance companies. And essentially now, and for research that has they found is that their software solution, this is all technology that we're investing in, helps with individuals and their ability to manage and lead their own lives. So not to minimize the dependency, which of course is a big thing for people with Alzheimer's. They're also selling to pharmaceutical companies who need to know who are the best people to have on the clinical trials, or they're
More
selling to insurance
data
companies
research.
as well. And so through that, you can screen, essentially it's through their technology, you can understand what's the likelihood of you getting Alzheimer's or dementia, giving a number of risk factors. And then they, through their technology, helps to delay the onset of the disease.
Okay. All right. Another company.
Another company, Psion Games, a Finnish-based gaming studio.
Okay.
Right? And so they're creating health awareness games that are sold to the likes of the Gates Foundation, the WHO. So they have,
Um,
yeah,
okay. So it's really all most of your are technology related.
exactly. Yeah. So
So
we're
it
investing
could
in technology.
okay, because there was another company that we knew, Life Guides, and they, you know those guys?
We do. Yeah.
Okay, so they sell kind of mental health support, not people who are going to kill themselves, but
Right. But like buddies. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
professional people, and
Yeah.
they sell it to large corporates. The corporates pay for it.
Mhm. Right. And so I was talking mainly so far about the mental illness side, but we're also looking at the mental wellness side. So our first investment was in a Dutch company focused on employee well-being named Quan.
Quan?
A-N. Quan.
Quan. They sound familiar. Where did I hear about them?
So they subsequently sold to their largest customer, and so are now part of True Tribe, which is from the occupational health company Zorg van der Tak. My Dutch isn't great.
Okay. And what do they offer in mental
So so
wellness?
they're looking at the relationships between people on teams. So through their algorithms and their questionnaires, they'll be able to identify where is the potential frictions points, and then what are the concrete rituals that a team together can undertake to improve performance on one side, but to reduce burnout.
And what did you do to address your burnout or
Yeah.
break down or break through, whatever,
Sure.
however you want to look at it?
Yeah. So I had psychotherapy, right?
Okay.
I also used plant medicine, which was very helpful. Nutrition for me has been very important, specifically using metabolic psychiatry approaches. The ketogenic therapy diet is very good for me personally. And so that's how I came into this. And yeah,
And what is the big ambition? Because you've taken on maybe under kind of nature solutions. I'm not talking about buying forest. I'm
yeah,
actually talking about restoring the the health of vegetation and the soil, which is
hmm
boring and doesn't provide the fees for the intermediaries, which is
yeah,
why nearly no money goes into that, and most of the money goes into carbon removal, which usually
hmm
doesn't work in the short term. Um, so you've taken on a sector which you probably realize it's fucking hard to raise money for
sure,
this.
that's true.
You only have to look at the whole impact mafia community,
Hmm
the networks and that. Some of the worst social skills on the planet are the founders of these organizations. So being interested in helping the world doesn't mean that you're
Yeah,
going to
exactly.
be a
That you're going to do
mensch.
anything. Yep,
Yeah.
that's true. Yep. So for us, I mean, if you let's look at it at a systems perspective. If we look at climate change issues, if we look at soil issues, right?
Hmm.
If we look at the geopolitical situation that we have today,
Hmm.
right? Let's be frank. If Putin, Netanyahu, Trump had dealt with their own childhood trauma,
Oh, okay.
we would be in a much different scenario, right?
Yeah.
Why do we have climate change? It's mainly because of human actions. The need to have more, to produce more, to travel more,
Yeah.
to consume more, right?
It's
And why
never
is that?
enough.
Yeah,
It's never enough.
it's never enough, and it's because we, yet as a race, have gotten away from understanding what's our relationships with ourselves, with our families, with our communities, and with nature.
But it's very hard to have that level of understanding and empathy for a guy like Peter Thiel
Well,
or
he's certainly
Elon Musk.
they're certainly not in our on our lead generation pipeline for being
No, no,
LPs.
no.
Yeah,
But if
yeah,
if what you're saying is
agreed.
true
Yeah.
and you work with the barbarians,
Hmm.
call it the Barbarian Recovery Fund, um, you would have more impact.
Yeah, sure, if we worked with him directly, but then,
Yeah.
well, that's, if I think there's also a lot to say about addressing people where they're at, and not, we're not going to boil the ocean in one day, right? And so we have a small fund. Something I think that has helped us in our fundraise is not only think about, yes, there's a mental health crisis, it's affecting everybody. There are true mental health financial opportunities. There's a number of companies who have now raised CDE rounds in the US. There's acquisitions happening. There's more coming down the pike. But we also see this concept of founder well-being or founder mental health as a key element for success.
Okay.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so we
So,
have that double-edged approach.
but are you investing in any company that is specifically targeting founder support for LPs?
So we are not investing in those companies now. That we know of some, but we
Yeah,
it's
that
also,
would
that's more of a consulting approach, and
right.
it's not
Yeah, but
incredibly scalable. Let's be
it
honest.
might be
But what
easier to get investors for that.
Yeah, but what we are doing, we have an entire integrated nurture capital approach. And so this is where our impact comes in, is because we know that 65% of startups that fail, especially at early stage, fail because of human conflict. Right. And so as an investor, I shouldn't be
60%, you said?
65%, according to Noah Wasser.
65%
Yeah.
fail because of human
Are
interaction,
because of human conflict, because of
conflict.
co-founder conflict, because the founders, their egos are too big. They have conflict with themselves, with investor conflict.
Hmm.
And so as an investor, I am not happy with 80% of the portfolio failing. And if I'm able to reduce that by
Right.
focusing on where are the founders really coming from? What's their relationship with ego, with power, with success? What traumas have
But,
they had in childhood? Right? Because trauma, there's no valence to trauma. It can be good and bad. It can be very empowering.
but are
Right?
you able to offer that type of analysis of a founder?
Yes, so we do that in our due diligence process as the third leg of our due diligence process. And then once we do invest, we co-create with the founders what we call a nurture capital plan. And so then from our management fee, we pay for coaching, co-founder coaching, therapy, leadership courses, whatever the company needs to address the previously identified blind spots in terms of that human element, right? Not every founder is a good CEO, and that's okay. Some founders should be repeat founders and not try
Not
to
everyone
become.
is a good president
Yeah,
either.
not everyone is a good president, but if we can have those discussions at the very beginning of the investment, so that when it's Series B, C, D, and the founder needs to leave, that transition can happen amicably. That helps a lot of people. So we dig quite deeply into the psychology of the founders,
But
and,
I
and
would
we.
think, sorry, I would think that from a revenue or business model, that would offer you the greatest interest for investment by targeting LPs. We will do a mapping or analysis of the founder to give you due diligence risk
Mhm.
assessment.
Sure. So we do that not only for our portfolio, but we have a number of LPs who are wanting the service. It's called
Yeah, I
Nurture
would.
Capital as a Service. So
Okay.
after we finish the fundraise, which we're finishing up in the next couple of months,
Didn't I hear
uh,
that 6 years ago?
yes, 10 years ago, 100 years ago. It's in the LPA though. We can't we can't go any further now. That's something certainly. But let's be frank, how many investors, even impact investors, are actively looking at the founder well-being as a key
Yeah, very few.
differentiation
Yeah, very
and
few.
a diversification and a risk reduction methodology?
But yeah, I would think there would be the more enlightened or maybe family office people who've actually created a, multi-generational
Sure.
company would be quite interested in that because they're
Yep.
more long term. So I think you do very well with offering that as a service. My main concern is that it might overshadow your fund.
The fund. Yeah. So we need it. That's why we're building the fund first. And then through those learnings as well, right? Because we're eating our own dog food. We're
Okay.
providing these services. We also, Sabine and I have our own co-founder coach, invaluable. And so this is also, we can learn what works and what isn't working.
What is
And so
Sabine's background?
she was in investment banking,
Okay.
HSBC for a number of years. She was in consulting in the technology media tech sector, telecom media tech sector. And then she ran an early stage VC fund in Germany that invested in
Okay.
70 plus. Yeah. And so that's kind of that nurture capital side. But there's one other element, I think, which is why LPs are coming to us, is thinking about what's the purpose of capital? Is it so that I can become a billionaire? Some LPs would say, yes, that's the goal. No, I don't need to have any more yachts, Robert. I
Mm.
do want to be invited to your yacht. That would be nice. Thank you for that invitation. So Sabine and I actually set a carry cap. There's a maximum amount of money that we can make on the GP side, and that's set pretty ambitiously at 4x. So if we get more than 4x multiple on invested capital, that carry doesn't go into my bank account or Sabine's bank account. It goes into a foundation that we as a community, our LPs ourselves and our founders then program or steward. So
Have
that's
you,
one.
sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, so
Sorry.
that's one innovation that we're doing on the fund structure side, and we have a couple of more because we aren't satisfied with the current way that impact funds are really VC funds with an impact sticker.
Um, had you ever considered that you believe so much in your ability to improve the mental health or mental wellness that you would actually tie your carry to your performance?
Yeah, we do tie our carry to the impact performance, the
Oh,
outcomes.
okay. Good for
So
you.
half to 50%. We have impact and carry. And we also do 10% of our carried interest goes to the founders. So we have a profit share with our founders.
Does that, I mean, most of the LPs just want to die rich quickly and they're not really interested in mission. They're interested in returns because they have somebody else breathing down their neck wanting to see returns. What do they say when you tell them, wait a minute, you're giving away my money?
Well, it's on the GP side, right? It doesn't affect them as the LPs. So the sky's the limit for this fund in terms of what the outcomes
No,
for
but
them
if
could
you're
be
giving 10%, oh, I see, of your own money.
of our own carry. Yeah. So this is, and so we actually all of the LPs that we have on board, including the institutional investors and large multifamily offices like the King Bodowan Foundation, are very interested in this approach because it's evolving. What's the purpose of
Hmm.
capital?
Yeah. Okay. What has been the most frustrating part of creating this fund?
Yeah, yeah.
I'm
So
sure
we
there's a
get,
long list.
oh yeah, sure, long list. How much time do we have? It's because mental health touches everyone. We don't have problems getting meetings.
No.
Yeah, and so people are interested. This is unique. This is something. Yeah, there's some intrigue there. The most frustrating thing is getting to the end of a conversation or a series of conversation or a long due diligence process, where then, of course, something changes, and the potential LPs are now saying, "Oh, we love what you're doing. It is incredible. you're really changing things, you're creating new structures, you're focusing on founder well-being. We need that more, but I'm not going to be able to invest now, but I'm cheering you on from the sidelines. And
Yeah.
so we have a wall of people who are cheering us on from the sidelines. And I
But
think that,
those are there's I mean, there's a couple of reasons they do that. One, you are the court jester of the day to
mhm,
entertain them and they're
indeed,
bored.
yeah,
Secondly, they've invested in a competing company, so you're giving them access to your data room and they could see hedge their risk. Third, they have to write a report for their boss at the funder, the asset owner who's giving them money, and you're the free consultant. And in very rare cases, they're actually looking to invest in a fund like yours. That's a
sure.
small group.
And we mainly get this from individuals and family offices.
No, sure, but
Yeah, not
how
from
do you
the,
filter out the noise? There's a lot
yeah,
of pseudo billionaires
yeah, yeah.
pretending to be wealthy, and they own a bar somewhere in Manchester, um, and sound really good, but they're not honest.
Yeah.
Or there are people who want to be part of that space and talk an incredible amount about mental health. And when you pull up the kimono, they write penny checks,
Mhm,
but they need, 6 months of due diligence to
mhm.
do that. So how do you, because you're surprisingly very polite in spite of all my irritating comments and criticism, you're quite kind and respectful, and you listen.
Mhm.
Um, but at a certain time, it affects your own mental health
Of course,
because
of course.
these are just extractive barbarians
Mhm.
who waste your. I don't know if you ever saw the movie Heat with Al Pacino and Robert De Niro. There's a scene in that, and I use that clip. I send it to people where he arranged to meet with a snitch who was going to tell him something, and he
Yeah.
wasted his time, and he walked away screaming, "Don't waste my motherfucking time!" And I find that very abusive
Mhm.
to fund managers or
Yep.
founders because it's hard enough just trying to convince people that are serious and filtering out the noise and finding them and getting a meeting and that and following up and chasing,
Absolutely. It
you
is
know,
a mental roller coaster because at the end of the day, you still have to
yeah,
maintain the modicum of not only professionalism.
right.
There's lots of people I'd love to tell off because they
Why don't you? They need
because
to
they fucking
hear
wasted my
it.
time. Yeah, yeah.
They need to hear it
So
because they're,
in some people certainly
but you're too kind.
in no
You're
uncertain
just too
terms,
kind.
right? I think there are a few people we've said we think you're charlatans, and
Yeah,
we don't. Yeah.
they are.
So I think that happens. Yeah. I think also something I would like to do, and maybe we can collab on this, Robert, is having the virtue trophies and having the best
Oh, yeah, that's
yeah,
good.
yeah. So we give annual awards to those who are the most virtue trophy
Investor or founders?
uh no to so family offices, next
Okay.
gens, primarily the yeah those high net worth
There are
individuals.
some wonderful family offices. I
Yeah.
mean, and high net worth who are, I'm not saying that they'll always invest and say yes. That's not the issue.
No, that's not the point.
It's
Yeah.
just
But they're
saying
professional. Yeah.
professional. And I'm saying, Joshua,
Thanks,
sorry,
but
it's not
no,
for me.
it's great. Yeah.
That's fine. You're a
Yeah.
big boy. You're not going to,
Exactly.
break
Yeah.
down.
Yeah.
And there are some wonderful family offices who they just, unfortunately, the ones that really are the virtuous leaders, um, they talk the least.
Mhm.
And the
I think
ones
you're
who
right.
are the least virtuous, they talk the most.
A lot.
And people gravitate to those because of they cut all these ribbons, they speak at every event, they make sure that their
Mhm.
buddies always invite them.
Mhm.
When I wrote that article on the Impact Mafia, that's the
Yeah.
first time any of my postings went viral. Although the article that I wrote yesterday about growing up in New York and my parents,
I
that
read that.
a lot
That was
of
great.
traction.
It's
Um,
great.
and it's the first time that I was invited by several major events to be a critical, engaging speaker. Because usually at these events in Impact Summits or ESG, they'll have a big list of sponsors, but that's always a proof there's no critical thought. More
Mhm.
sponsors, the least critical thought.
Mhm.
And this time I got invited to several to shout my barbaric yawp, and one wanted to have a debate, a real
Great.
debate. Their polite way of saying, has impact investing lost its way? Mine was, is it full of shit the way it's done now?
Mhm.
And ultimately, we won the debate. Unfortunately, they wouldn't allow us to publish any of the films of me
Mm.
engaging with two
Spread.
of the other fund managers. Um, so, but it is important, and
Yeah.
unfortunately, I feel like I'm in a, I'm going up against the Brits in that film with Mel Gibson with these, and there's nobody behind me,
Yeah, the
you
Scotsman.
know,
Yeah, you're by yourself.
because everybody
Yeah.
starts coming there, but they are so afraid of pissing somebody off.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's not helping anyone.
Yeah. And you don't have to be confrontational. A couple of weeks ago, I was in
No.
London at an event, a mental
Yeah.
health financing event. There was a session around family offices, if I remember correctly, and there were two family offices on the panel. And I asked, okay, how much of your wealth have you or are you putting into mental health currently?
Excellent.
And the
Perfect.
answer was zero, right?
Yeah.
And I said, I didn't have to say anything negative.
No.
Huh? And I think that's maybe my personal way of doing it, is
No, no,
bringing
I,
light
I
to
do
things.
that
Yeah, yeah,
also.
yeah,
I don't always tell them
absolutely.
that their children are ugly. Um, and there was a woman on a panel for a B Corp summit
Yeah.
in Malaysia. She was the head of Temasek Trust, which
Hmm.
is a huge mega
Yeah.
fund. She was very outspoken, but honest and happy to have kind of, critical discussions. So you're right. You don't have to be rude. Um, but even that little thing of saying, why are you doing impact? Is this about fees or is this about impact?
Yeah.
And that's also a powerful question.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
as you did, it's not a kind of being rude, but there are just too many who um, just lack basic
Yeah.
social skills or pretend to
True.
be investors.
Yeah. I see also in this field that many people want to create their own networks. Many people want to create their own advisory companies. And I think I very rarely do I see someone saying, I want to help somebody else instead of I want to create something
Yeah,
myself.
yeah, yeah.
And so that's another thing that's a bit
You're
in
one
this
of the
in our sector.
weirdos that want to help somebody else.
Yeah, but we've created our own thing
Yeah.
as well. But we
Yeah,
also
but you
help
would do
other
that
people.
even
Yeah,
if you didn't have your fund.
sure.
That's
That's
just your
true.
nature.
Yeah, of course.
You're just a
Of course.
kind, generous person.
Yeah, slap. Yeah, I'm just a
No.
conjurer that slip.
Yeah. So, and the people, because the financial sector is fundamentally DNA hardwired to be extractive in nature
Hmm. Hmm.
and incentivized for short-term behavior, it can be very, very frustrating dealing with them. But I've also had some of the biggest fund managers in the world, like General Atlantic, a big player. I mean, huge.
Yeah,
The woman there would apologize in head of impact if she didn't respond quickly.
yeah,
So there are lots of
absolutely.
people that actually
Yeah.
are quite civilized, but there's
And
a lot
specific
that
on the
aren't.
mental health topic, we as a small fund, a lot of pension funds won't look at us, understandably. A lot
No,
of
no,
public funds won't
okay.
look at us. They're fine. But however, there are individual organizations. There's a Dutch insurance company that signed with us.
Yeah.
We're in final due diligence and with a French insurance. There's a global,
Oh, good for you.
and so there's that's happening more and more, especially as people are starting to wake up to wait, we're not going to solve the mental health crisis and we need more private sector approaches. And insurance companies need to innovate as well. And so there's some good
And
movement there for sure.
have you gotten any family offices to invest?
Yes, many.
Oh,
Yeah, we have a number of
great.
family offices in Germany, in Switzerland, Austria, the Benelux. Most of our LPs are from Belgium and the Netherlands.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Any from the UK
Yes, as well.
and Italy?
No, not yet.
Oh, okay.
We're
I might
working on
have a
that.
couple. I mean, their office headquarters is the UK, but the woman there is really very passionate about impact
It's great.
and very outspoken. She's also very enormously pushing for increased wealth tax on the wealthy, even though
Okay.
she's wealthy herself.
Hmm. Interesting. I met a very inspiring woman of Italian origin at school in Oxford.
Oh,
Might be
it
the
could have
same
been
person.
her.
Yeah,
Could have been
yeah,
her. I mean, there's a lot who feel, am I crazy?
yeah. Why
Who
is this?
have to arm wrestle with the family
Uh-huh.
because the families, what are you doing? We need this money for the next generation. They're not worried about paying for college tuition for their
Yeah, of
kids.
course. Yeah, yeah.
So
Yeah.
but what keeps you, how old is your child?
I have a 13-year-old daughter and a 9-year-old son.
Oh, okay. Okay. So they keep you reasonably sane.
Indeed, they try. And
And
so that's something helpful as well.
what can the audience that is listening to the
Yeah,
podcast or watching the, what can they do to help you other than writing checks?
yeah. First, ask themselves the question: Who in my trusted and loved circle is dealing with any type of mental health issues? Who in my portfolio, my founders, what are they dealing with actually? Right? How can you, as an investor, ask the question not just how are you tokenistically, but really how are you doing, and be a lot more considerate about that entrepreneurial journey, especially if you have, as the investor, haven't had that yourselves. I think this awareness is general as important to be able to have a bit more compassion impact investing sector.
Have you ever pitched to Novo Nordisk Foundation?
So we're not the foundation directly,
Hmm.
but we are in discussions with some people high up there.
Okay, good.
Not, yeah,
That would be a good one to approach, but
agree.
it's
We've tried to
with
get in the
these
right angle. Yeah,
organizations, it's farming, it's not hunting.
sure. Yeah, it's about rebuilding a relationship, and then also, this is a new concept, this venture capital. So some investors wanted to see 2 or 3 investments in what we did, and now we
Yeah.
have we're about to do our fifth and sixth investment, and so that's
What about Welcome?
yeah. Welcome Trust is a
Yeah.
great organization, although they're not actively investing in additional funds.
Really?
That is correct. We know them well.
That's surprising. I mean, they're always
Yeah.
investing in funds.
From the endowment side, yes, but that's a traditional fund. It doesn't have to have anything to do with the mission, the organization. From the foundation side, they're not investing in additional funds currently.
Hmm. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. And how large do you want your fund to be?
Yeah, so this first fund as a proof of concept fund is a 20 million that we're raising for. And
And
then
the next one?
we'll see 40, 60.
Yeah,
Don't tell Sabine a few hundred million. I mean, a few.
I always tell people never tell LPs this is your first fund. Always say this is fund 3 or 4. Just
Exactly.
skip the first two. Usually they don't check anyway.
That's great. Yeah, no, no, no.
Because
Yeah,
the minute they hear it's an emerging manager,
of
we
course. We don't do that. Yeah, yeah.
and you've pitched to Mercer also.
No,
Why not?
I don't know. It's a good question.
So Mercer has a very big impact fund of fund. This is live, so everybody can steal this information.
That's good.
And
Share the joy.
the woman who runs it is based in Vienna,
Okay.
Angelica Dalen, Delen, and they're a bit slow in the due diligence, but you're used to that. And
Sure.
they had, the last time I heard, 450 million euro fund of fund. And they were looking at emerging managers, even though sometimes they say they're not doing, sometimes they are. You're not getting any funding from EIF, or you're in the
No,
race.
no.
They rejected you, or you haven't approached.
EF would like to see that mental health as an investable opportunity.
Well, if you invest, then they could see that.
Right. I'm glad they're listening.
So, but I would still keep in touch with them and check out Mercer.
Certainly.
Angelica is quite civilized. I'm surprised because they're often a speaker at that Impact Days in Vienna, that big event in
Sure.
Vienna.
Right, 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 right.
All
Well,
right.
thanks for that tip.
Yeah, no. That's fine. It just, as I always said, the fundraising is toilet cleaning. It's not fun to do, but you have to do it every day, and you have to
Right.
be persistent and consistent and keep chasing it. And most important question, why did you and Sabine choose the worst city in Europe for food?
So I'm in
Berlin.
Berlin, which is great. Sabine's in Munich, and so she won't agree with that. I mean,
Berlin is a
Berlin,
terrible city for food
amazing,
if you're like
so
food.
good,
Horrible
so
place.
good. There's so many different cultures. The only thing we're missing here is Burmese food. That's what I'm missing. It's the only thing I'm missing. Other than
Okay.
that, I get almost anything I want.
Have you been to Myanmar?
I have
Okay.
many
What
times. Yeah.
year?
2011, 2012.
Oh, we did a podcast with a woman who works for a nonprofit agency supporting the rebels,
Hmm.
but we had to hide her face, and that you
Sure,
might enjoy that
it's
and
great.
they have this massive data network of sharing information out
Hmm.
there, what's really happening on the ground. All right, well, we'll give it
It's
another try,
powerful.
but we always found it quite a challenge to find, other than dinner kebab, to find or beer house,
You'll have to come
uh,
back.
beer
The
garden.
Vietnamese restaurants, there's amazing Syrian, Yemeni, Moroccan food, lots of Korean food now.
Well, maybe if they will the World Cup, it'll be popular. The
Um,
Moroccans.
the Moroccans, yes, I'm having lived there for 2 years. That's what I'm hoping.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
my son was very happy America lost their game against Belgium. He was based in Hong Kong. Is there
indeed.
anything that we didn't cover about what you're trying to do that people have a clear understanding
Mm,
of what your big purpose is?
right. So if you consider mental health as the seed for all of the other societal issues, right? If we all have, I mean, Masawa is from the Arabic word for equality, al-Musawa. So if we all have our own mental health and we're all doing well mentally, right, then that's going to allow us to address so many of the other topics that we have, and to live more dignified and um, well-lived lives. And so with Masawa, we're investing in those technologies that are helping to make that happen, and making sure we're taking care of those founders, not just for the short term, but also for the long
Really like the two ideas that you posted, that you know treating people like Peter Thiel or Elon Musk or what's his name, Donald Trump, uh, might have avoided a lot of problems in the world.
term.
And maybe they would even, support a wealth tax, who knows?
Mhm.
Which is a very fascinating idea. And then the other one of actually using all of the information and data and experience that you've learned about avoiding the failures or the conflicts that lead to
Mhm.
failures of
Mhm.
founders. My concern is that business might overshadow the fund business, because I could see a lot of LPs asking for that type of work,
Mhm. Mhm.
because they're looking at the financials and you're looking at the DNA structure of the team,
Of the companies, yeah, of the
of the
companies,
companies.
which go hand in hand,
And
certainly. And so that's on as I mentioned, that's on the roadmap.
yeah, because we were helping one particular company, a Dutch company, and I was introduced to a friend. He's like you, mega nerd. He built the app for the Apple Store.
Mhm.
Very senior guy, and was working with this Dutch company. And he left. I had issues with the founder, just didn't like. So, and ultimately he left. I said, "Why'd you leave?" He said, "They completely abandoned their original mission,
Mm.
and just went for the money."
Yeah, yeah. The money comes, right? The money will come, and the money is an energy. It's just a driver of impact and making sure we all get a better chance.
Do you find that women founders have least less conflict than male founders?
I can't say anecdotally that's the case necessarily. I think women founders and serial or repeat male founders at first glance instinctively understand the nurture capital offering that we're providing. That's just my anecdote from the hundreds of founders that I've spoken to over the last years.
Do you know an organization in, I think it's Sweden, named Feminvest?
I do not.
So it's a network of
Mhm.
women investors, retail investors, and LP investors. We did a podcast with one of the founders,
Mm.
Michaela. If you look at on Spotify, Michaela,
Mhm.
by the last name. It was very good, and she talks about what they do, and that might be an interesting organization. I mean, usually they're doing investment in direct deals,
Mhm.
but it might appeal to them of what you're doing.
Mm.
And the founder is quite good. You can find them also on LinkedIn. And they have, I think, a big event, but they've got thousands of members in their organization. So some are, founders, some are small investors, and
Mhm.
basically they focus mainly on women's led companies.
Right.
But check them out.
Oh, super. Thanks for that. Much appreciated. And what about you, Robert, in your day to day as you're looking at instinctively the mental health of all of these existing and real change makers and the
And
wannabe
my
change
own,
makers
and my
and your own
own.
mental
I
health?
cannot, I
Yeah.
cannot lose weight. I am just obsessed
Join
with
the club.
food. It's really horrible, and not so much trauma from my youth. I just like food, and
Mhm.
my wife's a great chef. So that's I meant, and I my frustration is that I let these lack of social skills of many people. I
Mm.
don't have a problem with the irresponsible investors and criminals and organized crime. They are who they are, and I know what I'm getting. It's the fraud posers
Mm.
who go and speak at all the events, but have no social skills. So I take
And
that,
no
I get
credibility.
very upset
Yep.
about it, and I add them to the shit list. We have a shit list in
Yeah.
our CRM and code them shit list. Um, and I think that that's a really huge waste of my energy
Mm.
because ultimately, as people, no one is looking to pollute more or how do I waste more energy or how do I abuse more, other than Donald Trump and maybe Peter Thiel. But in general, most investors are moving in the direction of where we are. They're just not moving as quickly as we'd like.
Sure.
Um, so it's just I just would like it to go faster than the music. And I agree with you, calling them out in a polite way is a good way.
Mhm.
I just get very frustrated that there are very few that do that. I get people who respond to a posting that I do. Great story, but they don't post it. They don't respond on LinkedIn or on the weekly, they'll send me a private WhatsApp message because they don't want anybody to know that they agree with
Mhm.
what I said. So it's that's why I jokingly say I always prefer irresponsible investors and criminals. But it's hard. It's very
Mhm.
hard. I'm not driven by the money. It's only purpose driven, and I've been doing this a long time. And my
Sure.
biggest challenge is still convincing my wife that we're on the right path because she said, when is it finally going to happen or break through? So writing the book has been helpful, but I would like, I'd be happier, I think, if more people spoke out.
Mhm.
They're so afraid of, many are agree and are frustrated and they don't like the way the direction of their industry. So talent is leaving the financial sector, the pharma sector, all of those at a certain point, the people, I had enough. I want more
Yeah.
purpose in my life.
Sure.
But few speak out. I used to teach MBA students. about sustainable financing, and hardly any of them ever followed their heart and
Sure.
pursued that direct. They went to A.T. Kearney, McKinsey, and I used to show that Larry David clip where he was telling, Leon, you want to get this job, you got to, flip it. When the interview recruiter comes to you to interview, you flip it and you interview the recruiter. And I told the students, you have power then. Refusing to work for the company has gives you leverage. Start going to work there and thinking you're going to change it from within there. But so few of them do that. And I think
Yeah.
that's my frustration. There is a big army, but they're not working together on this.
Sure. Yeah. Because everybody has sharp elbows and are trying to make out their own in the world. Yeah.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And there's brilliant talent and wonderful people, but they often feel powerless or they feel I need to still eat from the pig trough. I
Mhm.
still need to be able to write my hours,
Yeah.
while the image that they give is ribbon cutting and posing at Catapult or one of the others.
Mhm. And that then eventually continues to the deleterious effects
Yeah,
of this need to be liked, whether online or offline,
that's right.
and the vacuous nature
Exactly.
that is coming.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It doesn't help anyone. And once people realize, saying in a
You
polite way,
think?
like you asked, hey, where's your money going,
Mhm.
is a very powerful tool. Use it. Don't be
Exactly.
afraid. You have
Exactly.
nothing to lose.
That's
This has
right.
been a joy, Joshua. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you too.
Let me just uh, stop that.